Welcome back to another episode of Sound Pals You Go to the Movies, and today I will be reviewing the movie Creed 3. So just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. Adonis has been thriving in both his career and family life, but when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight. So let's begin with my first pro. The Creed franchise is continuing the Rocky series, and we can see how it all fits in. First it was Rocky, then it got passed down to Adonis Creed, who from the looks of it might pass it on to his daughter. With the few scenes that we got to see in the movie of him training her or her wanting to train and him wanting her to defend herself in life, we can see the torch being passed on. So that gives this franchise a few more movies under its belt if the daughter does take over the role. Next point, how each character has something they have overcome in life. For example, Bianca, played by Tessa Thompson, she had to overcome her hearing loss and giving up her music singing career and moved to producing. Even though she really wanted to be a singer and still regrets that, she learned how to overcome it. Since the last movie, it really brought her down. Adonis Creed, on the other hand, has his anger issues and also his trauma from childhood that he has to deal and learn to overcome. He eventually learned a little bit from Rocky on how to control his anger and become the world champion. But here we see him reliving his childhood trauma and finding that as an unfinished thing he has to overcome. Now moving on to his childhood friend, Damian has held a grudge since he went to jail, and now he wants to fight the world for something he feels it took away from him. He blames Adonis for running away that fateful night, but at the end of the movie he comes around, and after getting some sense knocked into him, he sees that it was his own doing that got him into his situation, and also his anger that he had against the world from his childhood trauma that led him down the wrong path and eventually into jail. So each time we see a character, it's sort of a therapy session and we get to discover more about them. In a certain sense, we do see a little bit behind the curtains, but we don't fully get to see or understand each of them. But we also begin to see the daughter and her fighting in school, and there is something here that is being exposed to us just a tiny bit. Hopefully in the next movie we see more of her story and how this is affecting her life. Next point, the sequence that I really enjoyed was during the last fight when the two fighters, Adonis and Damian, were in the ring, and all of a sudden it shifted and it was just them two in the ring. All of a sudden it was like they were the only two people inside the stadium, and it all was silent except for the punches being thrown and the breathing of the two fighters. Also, the color tone in this sequence, it was amazing since they both were wearing white trunks and it all basically was a two-tone color. This was like their internal monologue but without words, and it was being represented by a fight scene. It was a big scene and it had no words, but it still left a big impact in me. And with that, I move on to my cons. Okay, so there was not much development of Damian and why he seeks revenge against Adonis. Yes, they said a few lines, but I needed more. Maybe him plotting in jail, how his revenge was going to be taken, or maybe in jail he's watching the fights and then feeling that it should be him inside the ring and not Adonis. For example, one way Adonis could have been forced to step back into the ring at the end of the movie would have been if Damian goes to Adonis's house but doesn't find him. Instead, it's Adonis's mother, and she confronts Damian and finds out about the letters she never delivered to Adonis. This begins an argument between the two of them and leads to the mother having a stroke. And after this, Damian runs away, leaving the mother unattended, but Adonis gets a call about his mother from the maid. She basically found her, but before she had let Damian, his friend, into the house, and he was with her before she found her lying on the floor having a stroke. After the mother dies, Damian goes on TV and makes fun of Adonis's loss, and this pushes Adonis over the edge. Adonis goes out to find him and finds him on the street and then begins a street fight with him. If this sounds really familiar, it is. It's from a Rocky movie, but just follow me. Once Adonis and him are fighting on the street, he thinks about it, says this is the wrong way to do it. He leaves. Damian starts screaming, yeah, run away like you always do. Adonis does leave, but then goes on national TV to challenge him publicly for a chance to the title and says, this is me not running away now. It all ends in the ring. Also, you can integrate the daughter's role in here. Like for example, when Adonis is training her, he's telling her about control and focus, and this comes into play during the final fight. When Adonis is overcome with rage during the fight, he is losing control and getting really beat up, and as he is down for the count, he looks up and sees his daughter signing to him saying focus and control, you can do it. And then we hear Rocky's voice say, yo, you like need to not let the anger use you, but you need to use it and control it and then focus it and let it out towards your target. And also we hear his mother's voice come into play that says, Adonis, you saved me and you helped me forgive Apollo. Before I was full of rage, but you taught me to let it go. This is when he gets a second win in and begins to fight smart and focus on Damian and his moves and sees the openings, and then he turns the fight around. In the end, the movie feels like they began to film when the script was still in a draft form and not fully finished. Some characters seemed like they were half thought out and some ideas were not really finished, and for this to keep going as I expected to go, I really needed more character development, and really I feel the daughter's role should have been implemented more. It should have been the focus of the movie, since I feel that in the future she is the one that's going to come into play to overcome her deafness and try to become the world champion. So my grade for this movie is going to be a 6.5 out of 10. Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan's acting was really great, but with a weak script and a weak character development, the film did not hold my attention, only during some scenes, especially the fight scene at the end, and even then it was short-lived. I want more of the daughter and her dealing with her anger and deafness, or even Bianca shining in and telling us more about the daughter situation. Well, I hope that for the next one we do see the daughter's development come into play, and for them to develop more around her, and Adonis picking up the role as Rocky, being the trainer, and the daughter setting out on the road to become a world champion and try to take the title. So that does it for this review of Creed 3. Please join us next time where we're going to review Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Look, I might not have as much experience as you because I'm not super old like you, but I've seen all of the Fast and the Furious movies, lady. It's all about family! Family! Guys, that was a signal!
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below, and like always, keep watching movies.